Well, House Democrats now are reportedly, quote, looking for guidance on Israel. This ahead of a potential visit to Washington from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over the coming days. Also, as a new survey finds, many Jewish Americans are changing their daily lives to accommodate growing fears. Some are saying they now hide signs of their Jewish identity due to this dangerous surge in anti-Semitism. Let's bring in Cornell Law Professor William Jacobson. Great to have you with us, sir. Want to play a soundbite for you, warning to Fox News Digital nearly 2 years ago about rising anti-Semitism on college campuses in America.
People should not be complacent that these issues were brewing before October 7th. They percolated up to the surface. To a certain extent, they've been pushed now down back below the surface, but it's still brewing on campuses, and nobody should kid themselves.
We look back at that, it seems prophetic. Right now, 38% of American Jews say they are hiding visible signs of their Jewish identity. That is a shameful stain on the nation right now.
Yes, I wish I had been wrong. Sometimes you want to be right, and sometimes you want to be wrong. And I wish I had been wrong in predicting the metastasizing of anti-Semitism in this country, which we're witnessing, particularly in the last several months, but really the last 2 years. This is a unique combination that I've never seen before. We know about what's called the Red-Green Alliance, which is the Marxists and the Islamists coming together to hate Jews and to hate Israel. What people need to understand is that this is not really about Israel and Jews. This is about the United States. This is an attempt to destroy our country from inside. And we now have a third element that was not seen until recently, which are some podcasters and influencers on the right who are Israel obsessed and spreading all sorts of conspiracy theories. So this is a toxic combination that, as you indicate, is causing a lot of American Jews to want to hide their Jewish identity.
What is your advice to Jews, both in your community at Cornell, but more broadly in the state of New York, which is home to one of the largest Jewish populations in the world, about how to deal with the need to have pride in their Jewish faith, but to also not make themselves vulnerable to violent, crazy anti-Semitic psychopaths?
Well, I think security is extremely important, and we already see that. Any Jewish event is very likely to have armed security. That's just the reality of the world we live in. But I think it's extremely important that we not give into it, that we not succumb to it and go into hiding, because that's what these people want. When you see the taunts on the streets, you see the attacks on the streets, they're in the news almost daily. They want people to go into hiding. They want to take over the streets, and they want to take over the society. And we shouldn't let that happen. Unfortunately, in some jurisdictions, we don't have local government that supports the Jewish population. In some jurisdictions, we have local government that's openly hostile to it. So I would say be proud to be American, be proud to be Jewish, and don't succumb to the pressure. But understand this is a bigger issue of an all-out assault on the United States.
Here in on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., right behind me, we have precious few Jewish officials serving in the Congress. The Democratic Party right now is grappling with how to accommodate people, American Jews and non-Jews, who are critical of Israel's government, but want to stop threading the line and crossing over into being critical of the Jewish people. Here's a quick full screen. This is from Politico today. They write, Democrats are looking for guidance on Israel. Hakeem Jeffries isn't giving any at the moment. Do you think it is the leader's job to try and rein in some of the more problematic rhetoric on the far side of his party?
No, I actually don't think it's his job to do that. It's the party's going to go where it's going to go. And if it becomes the anti-Israel, anti-Jewish party, it will be the destruction of the Democratic Party. because the American people don't want that. Being critical of Israel is one thing. Nobody says you can't be critical of Israel, but this hyper focus, this obsession, this insistence that everything that happens wrong in the world is somehow the fault of the Jewish people and Israel is sick. And it's going to tear apart the Democratic Party. If they let it tear them apart, it's going to destroy them.
But it seems to me, if it ultimately did, it would be a worthwhile issue to create that kind of divide. Meaning, if Americans are going to argue about anything to a degree such that it breaks up one of our two parties, then so be it. This is one of those issues. Professor Jacobson, thanks for joining us today. Good to talk to you.
Thank you.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.